The strange fruit incident. Jake wiped the sweat off his forehead as he stood under the two suns of the alien planet, Varela 9. He had been working all morning, checking the strange farming equipment. The machines were designed to harvest alien plants, but they often broke down. And Jake, a human technician from Earth, was here to fix them. The jungle around him was bright, colorful, and full of sounds he didn't understand. Giant plants glowed softly, and the air smelled like flowers mixed with warm metal. It was beautiful, but also confusing. Jake's stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since early morning. He looked around and saw something strange growing on a nearby tree. The tree had silver bark and glowing blue fruit hung from its long branches. The fruit looked like a mix between a coconut and a mango. It shimmered in the light. Jake had seen it in pictures but had never tried one. It looked juicy. He stepped closer. "I hope this is edible," he muttered. Just as he reached out and plucked the fruit, a voice shouted behind him, "No, don't eat that." He turned around quickly. It was Leora, the young alien girl who worked as a plant researcher. She had violet skin, glowing freckles, and large golden eyes. She looked half panicked, half furious as she ran toward him. Jake blinked. "What? It's just fruit. I was hungry." "You don't understand. That's a kavari bloom. It's not meant for humans." But he had already taken a bite. The fruit was surprisingly sweet and melted in his mouth. "Tastes amazing," he said with a grin. Leora stopped a few feet from him, breathing heavily. She looked down at the half-eaten fruit in his hand, then up at him. Her eyes widened. She gasped and suddenly grabbed her chest. "Oh no," she whispered. Jake frowned. "What's wrong?" Leora turned bright purple. Well, her version of blushing. Her cheeks glowed, her body tensed, and she spun around to hide her front. I need to go," she stammered, and rushed into the tall grass, vanishing into the jungle. Jake stood there confused. "Did I do something?" He looked at the fruit in his hand again. "Weird alien customs," he muttered, tossing the rest away. But deep inside, he couldn't shake the strange look Leora gave him before running away. Later that evening, Jake sat in the main station tent, eating his proper dinner. But he couldn't focus. He kept remembering Leora's face, the panic, the blush, the way she clutched herself and ran. "What the hell is a kavari bloom?" he finally asked the station's AI assistant. The AI buzzed. Kavari bloom is a fruit produced by female responsive trees on Varela 9. When consumed, it releases scent-based pheromones that trigger biological reactions in local female species, only if they have emotionally imprinted on the person who consumes it. Jake dropped his spoon. "Wait, what?" the AI continued. "In the Virilan culture, this reaction is seen as a sign of potential bonding. The effect causes a visible increase in physical traits related to mating." Jake's face turned red. "You're telling me I made her bigger just by eating the fruit?" "Affirmative," the AI answered. Jake buried his face in his hands. "Oh man, she's gonna kill me." Outside in the jungle, Leora was hiding behind a glowing tree, hands still covering her chest. Her breathing was shaky, and her mind was racing. Why him? Why now? She had admired Jake from a distance for months. His smile, his way of talking, even his clumsy human jokes. But she never thought he would eat that fruit. Now, because of her feelings and because of that fruit, her body had changed in front of him. She didn't know what to do. She had never been so embarrassed in her life. Back at the camp, Jake stood and grabbed his jacket. "I need to find her. I need to fix this." As he walked into the glowing forest, the leaves whispered, and somewhere nearby, Leora heard the sound of human footsteps. She gasped again. "He's coming," and her blush grew even brighter. The night air on Varela 9 was soft and glowing. Strange plants lit up the jungle paths like floating candles. But Jake wasn't paying attention to the beauty. He was focused, searching for Leora. He followed, the trail of crushed grass and glowing footprints left behind by her species. Her people didn't wear shoes. That made it easier. But Jake's heart was pounding, not from fear, but from guilt. He didn't mean to hurt her or embarrass her. All he did was eat a glowing fruit. How could that cause such a reaction? As he stepped through a curtain of moss, he heard a soft voice whispering, "Stop growing. Please, just stop." He froze. Peeking through the glowing plants, Jake saw her. Leora sat beside a small pond, her back to him. Her arms were tightly wrapped across her chest and her body was trembling. Jake stepped forward carefully. "Leora?" She gasped and spun around. Her eyes widened in horror, and she quickly turned her back again, covering herself with her arms. "Don't look at me," she cried. "I'm not." Jake turned his head away, blushing hard himself. I came to say sorry." Leora didn't answer right away. She just sat there, hugging herself tighter. Jake took a deep breath. "I didn't know. About the fruit. About what it would do to you." She still said nothing. I asked. "The station AI," Jake added. "It told me what it does. That it only affects females if they have feelings for the person who eats it." That made her shoulders tense. She stayed quiet for several seconds, then whispered, "You weren't supposed to know that." Jake sat down a few steps behind her, careful to give her space. "Leora, is it true? Do you like me?" Leora's voice trembled. "I didn't want you to find out like this. It's not supposed to be so embarrassing. On my planet, this change only happens when a female chooses a mate. It's a private thing. And now, everyone will know." Jake looked down at the soft grass. "I'm sorry. I really am. I thought it was just fruit. I didn't mean to, well, enlarge anything." Leora let out a small, nervous laugh. It surprised both of them. "You humans are so strange," she whispered. "You eat everything without asking." Jake smiled weakly. "Yeah, we're curious and hungry." There was silence for a moment. Then Leora slowly turned halfway toward him, still covering herself but allowing her face to be seen. Her cheeks glowed like molten gold. "I wasn't just embarrassed," she admitted softly. "I was afraid you'd laugh." Jake looked at her gently. "Why would I laugh?" "Because my body changed," she whispered. "Because I became more." Jake's eyes widened and he quickly shook his head. "Leora, I would never laugh. You're actually..." He trailed off. Leora raised an eyebrow. "What?" "You're really beautiful," he said. Now her whole face turned bright pinkish purple. She buried it in her hands. "Stop saying things like that. You'll make them grow even more." Jake blinked. "Wait, what? Saying nice things makes it worse?" "Yes," she squeaked. Jake slapped a hand over his mouth. "I'll shut up now." But then both of them burst out laughing. The awkward tension finally broke. For the first time that night, they felt lighter. Leora wiped a tear from her eye. "You're a weird human, Jake, but thank you for not running away." Jake looked up at the alien sky. "I guess now we're connected in some very weird biological way." She smiled. "We are." Suddenly, a loud voice echoed through the jungle. "Leora, where are you?" They both froze. It was the voice of Tashak, a warrior from her tribe. His voice was sharp and angry. Leora's smile vanished. "They know," she whispered. "They're looking for me." Jake stood up. "Then we have to explain." "No," she said, grabbing his hand. "They'll think you did this on purpose, that you claimed me." Jake's eyes widened. "Claimed you? What does that mean?" "In our tribe, if a male triggers the bloom, he is expected to take responsibility." As a mate, Jake's jaw dropped. "You mean marry you?" Leora's face turned hot again. "Not now, but maybe later. That's the rule. And some of them might Want to hurt you. More voices echoed nearby. We have to hide, she said, pulling him behind a glowing tree. Jake, heart racing, whispered, So let me get this straight. I ate the wrong fruit, made you grow, accidentally proposed to you, and now angry aliens want to kill me? Leora nodded seriously. Yes. Jake groaned. Great. Typical Monday. Jake crouched behind a glowing blue bush, his heart beating fast. He had fixed broken machines, survived dust storms, and even escaped space pirates once. But hiding from angry alien warriors because he accidentally made a girl's coconuts grow? This was a whole new level of weird. Beside him, Leora was breathing fast. Her arms still covered her chest, her golden eyes scanning the forest. The pulsing glow on her skin was brighter now, like embarrassment made her shine. Jake whispered, Are they still close? Leora nodded. Yes. And if they find you, they might challenge you. Challenge me? Jake blinked. To what? A fight? A dance-off? An alien quiz show? She gave him a serious look. A blood duel. Jake's face went pale. Okay, so not a quiz. They waited in silence as the footsteps passed. Once things calmed down, Leora led him through a hidden tunnel of trees. After a few minutes, they reached a vine-covered door hidden in the jungle wall. She pushed it open. This is my lab. Inside was a small, glowing room made of living plants and crystal. Strange flowers floated in the air, and holographic screens buzzed softly around the walls. This was her private research center. Jake looked around. Whoa, your lab is cooler than the human science stations. Leora ignored the compliment and quickly tapped a floating panel. We don't have much time. You need to understand what happened to me. A screen lit up with the glowing image of a kavari fruit, the one Jake had bitten. Leora pointed. This fruit carries something we call emotion pollen. It reacts with our body, but only when we care about the person who eats it. Jake scratched his head. So, you liked me before I ate it? Her cheeks flushed. Yes, a little. But I kept it to myself. Jake nodded slowly. Okay, so when I bit into it, it released that pollen, and boom, she sighed. Not just boom. It triggered something deep inside me. Our ancestors believed it was the sign of a fated pair. Jake raised his eyebrows. Wait, like soulmates? Leora looked away. Yes, and that's why the tribe takes it seriously. Jake paced the room. But I didn't mean to. I was just hungry. The fruit doesn't care, Leora said. The bond is formed, and now your scent is imprinted on me. Jake stopped. Wait, my scent? She nodded. Yes, even now I can smell you from across the room. Jake sniffed his arm. I smell like sweat and engine oil. To me, Leora whispered, you smell like stars and fire. Jake blinked. Wow, that's either very romantic or very confusing. Suddenly, a loud beep interrupted them. Leora's console flashed red. They're scanning for life signs, she said. They'll find us soon. Jake looked at the screen, then back at her. Is there a way to undo it? Break the bond? Leora hesitated. There's only one known method, and it's not guaranteed. Jake leaned closer. Tell me. She looked into his eyes. You'd have to kiss me with no emotion. If your feelings are truly empty, the bond will collapse. Jake blinked. You want me to kiss you but feel nothing? She nodded. Yes, he rubbed the back of his neck. That's going to be hard. Why? She asked softly. Jake met her gaze. Because I think I like you too. For a second, everything went still. Then Leora whispered, Then the bond will never break. Jake chuckled nervously. Okay, new plan. Let's say I do like you. What does that mean for us? She tapped a new screen. An image appeared. 2 figures standing before a fire, touching hands surrounded by glowing symbols. This is the Viralan joining ritual, she said. If we go through with it, the bond becomes permanent. We would be life partners. Jake stared at the image. Leora, this is moving really fast. She looked away. I know. I didn't plan any of this. He sighed and stepped closer. Look, I'm not running, but I don't want to be forced into something just because of a fruit. Leora nodded. Then let's find a way. Together. Suddenly the lab's door exploded open. Tashak and two warriors stepped in, weapons drawn. Jake threw his hands up. Whoa, no duels, please. But Leora stepped in front of him, arms raised. Stop, he's under my protection. Tashak's eyes narrowed. You would defend the outsider who triggered your bloom? She stood tall. Yes, and if you want to challenge him, you'll have to fight me first. Jake's mouth dropped open. Wait, what? Tashak growled. So be it. Tomorrow, at dawn. The warriors left. Jake turned to her. You just challenged a guy twice your size. Leora smiled. I told you. I don't want to break the bond. Jake looked at her. Glowing skin, wild eyes, proud stance. And for the first time, he didn't want to either. At dawn, the jungle was silent, but it was a dangerous silence. The leaves didn't rustle, the birds didn't chirp, and even the glowing trees seemed to dim in fear. In the center of the village clearing stood a large stone circle, the arena of proving. It was where disputes were settled, not with words, but with strength. Jake stood outside the arena looking very human and very nervous. He adjusted the strange alien armor Leora had given him. It was made of silk-wrapped vines and crystal plates, and he had no idea how to move in it. His only weapon was a stick. Literally, a carved, glowing stick. Beside him, Leora tightened her gloves. Her expression was calm, but Jake could tell she was scared too. You sure you want to do this? He whispered. Leora gave a quick nod. It's the only way to protect you. If I beat Tashak, no one will question the bond again. Jake looked into the arena. The giant warrior Tashak was already there, his silver muscles flexing, two curved blades in his hands. He looked like he ate rocks for breakfast. Yeah, Jake muttered. This is going to go great. Suddenly, a loud drum beat echoed through the village. The crowd gathered around the arena, whispering and watching with glowing eyes. Alien elders stood high on the stone steps, watching silently. The High Elder raised his hand. The bloom has been triggered, he said. The female has chosen to defend her bond. The challenger has accepted. Let the right of defense begin. The drum stopped. Leora stepped into the circle. Tashak snarled. You disgrace our blood with that human. Leora's voice was steady. Then fight me, and find out how strong disgrace really is. The battle began. Tashak charged first, blades flashing. But Leora was fast, faster than anyone expected. She ducked, spun, and used her small size to stay close and low. Her strikes were light but sharp, like dancing lightning. Jake watched, breath held. This wasn't just self-defense. Leora was fighting for him. Tashak roared and swung hard, forcing her back. One strike cut her shoulder. Blue blood hit the arena floor. The crowd gasped. Jake took a step forward, but a guard blocked him. She must fight alone, the guard said. Jake clenched his fists. But she's hurt. She chose the path. Back in the arena, Leora dodged another blow, rolled, and slammed her stick into Tashak's knee. He grunted and stumbled. She used. The moment, leaped high and with a spinning kick knocked his blade away. The crowd roared. Tashak growled, furious. You think this means you've won? Suddenly he lunged, not at Leora, but at Jake. Gasps echoed. Jake barely had time to raise his stick. But the warrior was too fast. Just as the blade came down, Leora jumped between them, a flash of light. A crack of power. Her skin glowed white-blue as energy surged from her. Tashak flew backward, landing hard against the arena wall. Everyone froze. Leora stood there, panting, glowing, changed. The elders stood up, eyes wide. She has awakened, one whispered. Jake ran to her. Are you okay? Leora nodded, barely standing. I didn't know I could do that. The High Elder stepped down from the stone steps. Only 1 in 1,000 bloomed females reaches this stage. The awakening. She has bonded completely, emotionally and biologically. She is no longer just a Virilan. She is a queen blood. The crowd bowed. Jake blinked. Wait, does that make me a king now? Leora laughed softly. Not yet, but maybe. Tashak groaned on the ground, defeated. The High Elder looked at Jake. You, human, have awakened a rare spirit in our kind. You are now recognized as her equal, her chosen. The bond stands. Jake looked around at the bowing aliens, then at the girl beside him, wounded but strong, blushing but proud. He grinned. So, do I still have to fight anyone? Leora chuckled. Only me. In training. Jake smiled. Fair enough. The Court of Crystal Flames was ancient. Built inside a mountain made of glowing glass, the walls shimmered with living light. The air inside hummed softly, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Only the most serious matters were judged here: betrayal, war crimes, or in this strange case, a human boy who ate the wrong fruit and accidentally proposed to an alien girl. Jake stood in the middle of a glowing circle, hands behind his back, trying to look calm. He wasn't. Around him, alien nobles sat in floating, chairs shaped like petals. Each elder had skin of different colors, gold, green, copper, and their eyes glowed like stars. At the highest seat was the Grand Arbiter, an old alien whose beard was made of silver threads and whose voice sounded like thunder in a cave. Human, the Grand Arbiter said, you have triggered a sacred bloom, and now the bond has awakened. This is no small matter. Jake cleared his throat. I didn't mean to, I just got hungry. Whispers rippled through the court. Leora stepped forward from behind a curtain of vines. She wore a long, flowing robe now, the traditional dress of a newly awakened queen blood. Her eyes sparkled with confidence, but her cheeks still held a hint of that familiar blush. The Arbiter turned to her. Do you confirm that this human has formed an emotional link with you? I do, she said softly. And do you stand by this bond, knowing it may forever change your future among your people? I do, Jake swallowed. This was starting to feel like a wedding. Suddenly, a loud voice cut through the room. I protest. Everyone turned. It was Lady Serena, a noblewoman of the old bloodline, and one of the elders who disliked outsiders. This human has broken a sacred rule. He acted without knowledge, without permission. And now we are expected to accept him into one of our oldest lineages? She pointed a long finger at Jake. He should be punished, or rejected. Leora stepped forward. If anyone should be punished, it is me. I let my feelings grow without control. I brought him to this point. If you will blame someone, blame me. Jake opened his mouth. No, Leora. But the Arbiter raised a hand. Enough. He looked down at Jake. Do you understand the bond you've created? Jake nodded slowly. I think I do now. It's not just about changes or biology. It's about care, trust, emotion. He looked at Leora. And I care about her. I didn't plan for this, but I don't regret it. Whispers filled the room again. Some elders nodded. Others frowned. The Arbiter stood. Then we shall test the truth of your words. A glowing sphere floated from the ceiling. It hovered between Jake and Leora. This is the orb of truth fire, the Arbiter said. Place your hand upon it. If your bond is false, it will burn. If it is real, it will bloom. Jake glanced at Leora. She nodded gently. He took a breath and placed his hand on the orb. For a second, nothing happened. Then the orb began to glow, soft at first, then brighter and warmer. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Vines of golden light wrapped around both of them. Leora gasped. Jake felt warmth spread through his body, like a hug from the stars themselves. The Arbiter smiled. The bond is real, Lady Serena scowled. But he is still human, the Arbiter looked at her calmly. And yet he showed respect, honesty, and courage. Qualities many of our own people have forgotten. He turned back to the court. Let it be known, the bond stands. The human, Jake of Earth, is now recognized as a bound companion of the Queen blood. He may remain among us, if he so chooses. The crowd burst into soft applause. Floating, lights danced in the air. Jake blinked. Wait, I get to stay? Leora smiled. Only if you want to. He looked around at the glowing trees, the strange skies, the people, then back at her. I think I do. Lady Serena huffed and turned away. As the court ended, Leora stepped beside Jake. You didn't faint, I'm impressed. Jake grinned. I was close. She laughed. From now on, your life is going to be different. Jake raised an eyebrow. More alien fruit? Much more, she teased. They walked out of the court together. The crowd watched them go, whispers, stares, some jealousy, and some admiration. But none of that mattered. Because in the middle of an alien planet under a glowing sky, a human and an alien girl had just changed the rules of love. The skies over Varela 9 turned violet as evening fell. Twin moons hovered in the air, casting soft silver light on the crystal mountains. The world looked peaceful, but inside the sanctum of stars, a storm brewed in two hearts. Jake stood at the edge of a balcony that looked over the glowing forest below. The air smelled like fire flowers, sweet and sharp. His thoughts, however, were not so sweet. Behind him, Leora entered quietly. She had changed into a soft ceremonial robe, and her long silver hair now floated gently as if moved by invisible wind. She looked stronger now, brighter, different. Not just a girl, she was a queen blood. But Jake? He was still just... Jake, I've been thinking, he said without turning around. I know, she replied. He smiled sadly. Of course you do. We're linked now, right? You probably felt it. She stepped beside him. You're scared. He nodded. I've lived my whole life fixing machines. I never thought I'd end up in a glowing court in love with an alien girl, part of some sacred bond. She tilted her head. So, are you running away? Jake paused. No, not running, just standing, still, wondering if I'm enough for this. Leora looked out at the stars. When I was young, I dreamed of finding a bondmate, someone who wouldn't just accept me, but challenge me, someone who made me feel alive. She turned to him. Then you showed up, with greasy hands, human jokes, and no clue what a kavari fruit was. Jake chuckled. Romantic, huh? Very, she smiled. There was silence between them for a moment, heavy, thoughtful, tender. Then Jake asked the big question. What happens now? Leora took a deep breath. Now, we decide. He looked at her. You can return to Earth. The elders will understand. The bond will remain, but distant. You'll be free. Jake stayed quiet. Or, she continued, you can stay. Here. With me. Learn our ways. Live among my people. Share our world. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. And if I mess up again? Eat another sacred fruit? She laughed. Then I'll just have to keep saving you. His smile faded. You've already saved me more than once. She placed a hand on his chest. You saved me too. Before you came, I was quiet, unsure, always trying to prove myself to people who didn't care. But now, I'm standing taller. Because you believed in me. Jake looked down at her hand, then at her face, those glowing eyes filled with truth. I want to stay, he said quietly. But only if it's not just because of some ancient rule. I want it to be real. I want us to be real. Leora stepped closer. Then stay for me, not as a symbol, not as a trophy. Stay because you want to wake up next to me, laugh with me, fight with me, eat weird food together, mess up, learn, grow. He stared into her eyes. I've never been more sure of anything. She leaned forward, forehead touching his. Then it's decided. Suddenly, the sky above lit up with thousands of tiny glowing birds, sky seraphs, released to mark a life bond decision. The elders had been watching. The forest below roared with bioluminescent light. Leora and Jake stood on the balcony, hand in hand, framed by a world that now accepted them both. But even in this grand moment, Jake couldn't help it. He leaned closer and whispered, "So, do your coconuts ever go back to normal?" Leora gasped, smacked his arm, and burst into laughter. "You idiot!" He grinned. "You love it." She rolled her eyes. "Unfortunately, I think I do." And in the glowing light of 2 alien moons they stood together, imperfect, unlikely, but completely theirs. The dawn on Varela 9 was different this time. The suns didn't rise with their usual burning power. Instead, they crept across the sky slowly, like even the world itself didn't want to interrupt what was about to happen. Jake sat alone at the edge of the star garden, a secret place above the clouds. Vines glowed with soft gold, flowers sang low musical notes in the breeze, and starlight still lingered on the petals. This was the most sacred place in all of Leora's culture, the place where bonded pairs sealed their connection forever. But Jake wasn't smiling. He was staring at his own reflection in a pool of still water. His human face looked small, here, out of place. A stranger in a world made of magic and light. Am I really part of this? He wondered. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. He didn't need to turn. He already knew it was her. Leora stood silently for a moment before, sitting next to him. She wore a ceremonial white robe, trimmed with glowing feathers. Her eyes were soft, but her voice held strength. "You're scared." Jake chuckled lightly. "You're getting good at reading me. I can feel it, through the bond. You're nervous." "I'm not sure I belong here," Jake admitted. "Your people still look at me like I'm a walking accident, even after the trial, even after the awakening. They look because they don't understand," she said gently. "But understanding isn't a requirement for love." Jake looked at her. "Is that what this is?" Leora didn't blink. "It is for me." Silence fell again. But it wasn't awkward. It was honest. Then Jake stood up. "Tell me again what happens here. What does this place do?" Leora looked up at the glowing branches. "This garden reacts to energy between 2 people. Emotion. Connection. It doesn't care about blood or species. If 2 souls are truly bound, the garden will respond, with something only they can share." Jake frowned. "Like a magic show?" She smiled. "Like truth, made visible." Jake walked to the center of the garden, where 2 flower-shaped stones waited. He stood on one. Leora stepped onto the other. A soft hum filled the air like the entire world was holding its breath. "Do you trust me?" she asked. Jake nodded. "Always." She reached out. "Then let's finish what we started." Their hands touched. Warm, real, electric. And then she kissed him. It wasn't wild or rushed. It was slow, deep, full of everything unspoken. And the moment their lips met, the star garden reacted. The vines burst with light. The trees shimmered. The wind became music. But something else happened too. Leora's body glowed brighter than before. A soft white energy spread from her chest outward. Her eyes widened as she pulled back, gasping, "Jake, something's changing." He reached for her. "Are you okay?" She nodded, breath shaky. "Yes. But it's not just me." Suddenly, he started to glow. Jake looked down. His arms shimmered. His skin sparkled with small flickers of alien light. He wasn't in pain. He felt alive, energized, whole. Leora stared at him in awe. Your body is adjusting." "To what?" "To me," she whispered. The bond had deepened. More than cultural, more than emotional, it had become biological. The Garden pulsed with soft power. Then, without warning, a flower bloomed between them, one unlike any the elders had ever described. Its petals were half alien, half human, blue and pink, flesh and light. A hybrid. The flower floated into the air, and the moment it opened fully, memories poured out. Jake and Leora both gasped as visions filled the air. Moments they had shared. The awkward fruit incident, the chase through the jungle, the fight in the arena, the kiss in the court. All of it, floating between them like holographic dreams. Then something new appeared. A future. Leora and Jake side by side walking through. A new village. Alien children laughing. Humans and Varellans working together. Peace, harmony, families. Leora whispered, "The garden is showing us what could be." Jake was speechless. He reached out, touched the floating vision. "Is this real?" "It can be," she said, "if we want it." Tears filled Jake's eyes, not from sadness, but from something deeper. He finally understood. This wasn't just a weird love story. This was the beginning of something new. He stepped forward, still glowing. "Then let's make it real." Leora smiled, her hands glowing in return. Together, they embraced in the garden, surrounded by the light of their bond and the power of two species saying yes to something the universe never expected. Suddenly, a beam of light shot into the sky from the flower. High above the clouds on the orbiting station, a dozen alien ships paused. They had been preparing for conflict. They had feared the bond, feared the change, feared Jake. But now, the message was clear. Love had bloomed. Unity was possible. Here, Beam spread a signal, not in language but in emotion. An entire planet felt it. Hope, peace, connection, and from far away, on Earth, satellites picked up a strange energy. Scientists stared at the signals in wonder. What the hell is that? Jake and Leora didn't know, or care. They were still holding each other in the garden. Later that night, the village gathered in silence as Jake and Leora stepped forward, hand in hand. The elders, the warriors, the doubters, all watched. The Grand Arbiter stood and announced, "The garden has spoken. The bond is deeper than any law. From this day, let this human be known as Star-Chosen, a symbol of what can be. And let this queen blood be known not just as ruler, but as the one who dared to love the unknown." Cheers rang out. Leora leaned close to Jake. "Still think you don't belong?" He smiled. "I belong with you." Then, before the entire village, he kissed her again, this time on purpose. The stars above seemed to smile, and somewhere deep in the forest, another Kavari tree bloomed.